Afternoon.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us today. We'll get started with Coach Blashill. Please
Recording in progress.
We'll start with Ansar Khan.
Yeah, Jeff, just a maintenance day for Dylan.
Yep.
Are you expect him to play tomorrow?
I expect him to play tomorrow.
And what about Stahl? What's his
Maintenance day.
maintenance day too? So
Expect him to be available.
Mm-hmm. You talked after the Vancouver game about the way the team was relentless,
Mhm.
and obviously that was lacking in the next game. Just how do you channel that that relentlessness? I mean, how do you get consistency?
I would say it's another lesson in recognition of how important it is to be on top of your game every single night. And you're not going to play your best every night. You're not going to legs aren't going to feel great every night. That's the reality of pro sports. But your approach has to be great. And I just thought we had enough guys kind of just go in to play a hockey game. And I thought they went in to win the hockey game. And we got to be better than that.
Just looking ahead now, after this day clears and after the trade deadline, the final 20 games or so, just what's the focus? What are you looking for as far as areas of improvement? What you want to see from this team over this last month or so?
Generally speaking, we want to become a better hockey team. And I think there's moments this year where we've taken those steps, but you don't magically wake up a year from now and be better if you don't get better. So we have to work as individuals and as a group to get better. What areas as a group? Obviously, we've talked at length of our defensive game, and that's both structurally and individually. I think structurally, making sure guys are playing within a five-man unit, but also just individually being committed, and more than committed, being smart about how your habits are, making sure you got great defensive habits. You're on the D side of people. You're making them play through you to get to the net. You're taking away the good ice, forcing them to bad ice, and you're managing the puck. So all those areas are areas that we want to make sure that our checking gets better. We're not going to be a lot better hockey team until we check better, and so we're going to keep working towards that.
Is DeKaiser available, or is he still on IR?
Right now he's on IR.
But he's been practicing, so it looks like he's.
He said, right now he's on IR. I can't tell you what tomorrow's going to bring.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Ted Colton.
Oh, there we go. Hey Jeff, what does the head coach do on trade deadline day? Are you going into the war room and monitoring stuff too, or what do you do on this?
No, not really. I've done different things at different times, but today really honestly was just getting our team ready for the practice, getting our practice ready. We had a meeting as a team, and now it's 2 hours from whatever being done. So if my opinion is wanted at any point, certainly the management team will reach out to me, but they're in charge of making these decisions, and I'll be in charge of trying to get our team ready for tomorrow night.
A little bit off the wall, but just for all the speculation, all the other stuff going around, how tough is it for teams to assimilate the guys they get this late in the season? And I guess that's for you guys and for every other team out there.
Sometimes difficult. I think sometimes you add pieces and they look like they could really help you, and in reality, they don't necessarily fit great. And that's more for the contending teams. You can add a real good offensive player, and if you don't put him in similar offensive spots, he might not be the same player. And if you put him in those spots, then somebody that's been a big piece of your team's coming out. And I think Tampa's done a good job over the last couple of years of adding a specific element, grit, down their lineup a little bit with a good defender last year with Savard, and it made them a deeper team. So it's just, you got to be careful. In our situation, we're making trades for differing reasons. Certainly, the number one thing that I think Steve would try to get is return. But as we get players, we got to get them assimilated to our team. So sometimes that's more difficult.
The last one. How glad are you that you're not playing tonight? Let's say you've had I remember a couple of instances this time of year on trade deadline. It hasn't gone well. Having a game on a day like today's can't be all that easy, I would think.
It's not. Every year's a little bit different. Last year, we did play on the day of the game, and we actually played really well. It was almost like it was. We had a lot of guys actually not get traded. Obviously, we had the big trade with Mantha, but we had a lot of guys not get traded, and it was almost like guys took a breath and they could just go play. And so every year is a little bit different. Certainly, from a coaching perspective, it's less chaotic when you don't have to play on these days.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff.
Colleen St. James?
Jeff, after Saturday's game, you made a point along the lines of the trade deadline's today, but it's still going to be a bunch of the same guys tomorrow. Have you shared that a similar message or something? You said there was a meeting earlier with your team.
Well, I'd probably keep our meetings internal, but I would just say certainly we've talked about the fact that there's a lot of guys in our room that are going to be here at 3:00 on Monday, and we have to as a group continue to build and get better. And I think there's been moments this year that our guys can be real proud of themselves and proud of what we've been able to do, and then moments this year that aren't the case. And that's not just based on wins and losses. Sometimes you go through stretches where you win and you don't play great. Sometimes you lose and you play real good. I think we just got to make sure that over the course of the last 19 games or so, that we play, make sure that we have that mentality. We're going to play extraordinarily hard every night, and that we're working towards getting better.
And just how is you've had to sit Nicoletti the last two games. How is he taking that? I guess going back to when you told him in Edmonton or Vancouver that he wasn't going to play.
Yeah, I think every guy wants to play. I think the unknown's always hard for players. So when you're kind of held out, there's an unknown because nothing's happened right away. So that's not ever easy for players. I think certainly we'd like to have the best lineup we can dress, but everybody understands it's a business, and ultimately, if you're up to standings, you're not in the spot. So, but certainly from an individual standpoint, for Nick, it's not easy. It's not an easy time dealing with that unknown.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Daniela Bruce?
Coach, just with obviously Stetcher already gone and not knowing exactly what the day is going to bring, how hard is it to game plan for a game tomorrow, and how do you expect to fill that hole that Stetch is going to leave?
Yeah, I'd start, I guess, with the game plan. Be patient and just understand that from a tactical standpoint, it won't necessarily affect that, but certainly we don't know what our lines are going to look like for sure. So we didn't over sweat, I guess, some of those decisions today. We mixed a little bit of the lines up, and ultimately we made the decision, we can do whatever we want today until we know what our team looks like. We're not going to make that decision. Certainly Troy is an extremely competitive person, and I thought over the last couple of games, he's continued to bring that high-end compete, and we'll miss that competitiveness that he brings to the leadership that way he brings to our locker room. Certainly we think we have that there was some, I guess in the case of Gustav Lindstrom, a real good player who hasn't been in the lineup, so now he can get back in the lineup, and hopefully his play allows us to absorb the loss of Stetch.
And just to kind of follow up on that, Ulevi has been in the lineup the past few games. Just what have you thought?
I thought he's done a good job overall. I thought he's played well enough in situations, and these are not easy things to step into and kind of assimilate yourself to the team right away, and hopefully he's continuing to grow.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Last question, Carly Johnston?
Curious if,
Yeah.
Curious if there was any update on Robbie Fabry, how he's doing, if you've heard anything?
Well, I talked to Robbie. He's basically what happens. He's consulting with different doctors on what the correct procedure is. I don't, he'll be out the rest of the year. So as you kind of consult and decide what the best approach is, then you get stuff scheduled and ready to go. In the meantime, he's getting his body into a spot to be in the best position possible to handle the surgery.
And obviously, as we've been saying, this is a business, but it seems like you guys have a family in the locker room. How tough is it to see guys come and go?
Well, it's difficult. I think it's been a hard thing for certainly for the players. I'll miss guys, but they have relationships certainly deeper than with me. and it's hard. And I know that there's been some really good friends that have left here, and that's not easy. And I know even talking with Stetch yesterday, we talked about how good the guys are in the locker room, and I do believe we have a really good group of people in there. So it's a hard part of this reality.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
All right, those are all the questions we have for Coach Blashill today. Thanks everyone for joining us.